the Info Hub. In our headlines, SARA is investigating over 50 cases for the recovery of state assets. Prime Minister Nagamutu says the opposition is making a mockery of the judiciary. The Kitty Roundabout construction is in its final stage, and a brand new bridge has been built at Good Hope on the east coast of Demerara. Join us after these messages for the details.
Here's an important message from the Ministry of Finance and the Guyana Revenue Authority.
If you've never filed or paid your taxes, or have deliberately not declared your true income, and now you're worried that you'll be audited by the Guyana Revenue Authority, I have good news for you.
The Ministry of Finance has announced a tax amnesty effective January 1 to September 30, 2018.
So you can now pay all your outstanding income, property, corporate, withholding, and capital gains taxes and get right with the GRA. Visit their office or call them at 227-6060, extension 1201 or 1204 today.
Invest in your country. Pay your taxes.
In our big story this evening, we report that the State Asset Recovery Agency is reviewing over 50 cases and will begin proceedings in 10 of these soon. Tiffany Rogers has the details.
Professor Clive Thomas, SARA's director, says the agency is reviewing well over 50 to 60 cases for the recovery of state assets which were disposed of under the previous government.
Be able to start in the third quarter. We're hoping to focus on about, I would say, roughly about 10. Because part of the international commitment that we have depends on the value of the cases. And we have to meet a certain target value. They have to be above a certain figure for the cases to proceed overseas, to make it worthwhile for the agencies to proceed.
The State Assets Recovery Act of 2017 makes provision for SARA to pursue international cases valued more than $10 million, Professor Thomas noted. The cases that are being reviewed by SARA are based on complaints and referrals.
There's no single case that we have ever pursued that has not been referred to us, either by another criminal agency, let's say SOCO, the DPP, or whoever it might be, the police. That's the mechanism we've used so far, or a government department.
Professor Thomas says mechanisms will be put in place for persons to report alleged unlawful conduct by public officials.
We will be putting on our website very shortly the procedure that we would adopt for deciding whether or not to pursue these cases and how we will pursue them. Because we have to also be careful that people don't make false accusations against others or deliberately seek to create mischief.
SARA is mandated to investigate, trace, identify and recover unlawfully obtained state properties from a public official or other person, wherever in the world it is located. Reporting for InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu has said that the opposition PPP is making a mockery of the legal system in filing spurious private criminal charges against government ministers. Stacey Carmichael reports.
I think what's happening here is a typical case of what Guyanese would say when cow gone a slaughterhouse. They just do certain things on their tail, and faced with a investigative process that resulted in charges against former government ministers, the PPP has decided that it will rubbish the entire process. It will try to diminish the integrity of the investigative and legal process, and by implication to denigrate our courts.
The charges against the ministers came a week after the Special Organized Crime Unit brought charges against former PPP Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh and former head of NISIL Winston Brassington for illegally selling 3 plots of land for over $900 million. Prime Minister Nagamutu described the counter-charges as politically motivated and tit for tat, noting that the opposition's actions are an attempt to undermine the legal system and question the authority of judicial officers. This, he underscored, is a grave situation.
I don't see a ghost of a chance of any of these spurious counter-charges privately filed by PPP MPs succeeding in the court. But I don't think that the intention has been that these charges should succeed. I think that the mischief is being created by the fact of charges being filed and not the results of prosecution or hearing or trial into these charges. So that the Jagdeo gang is creating a smokescreen to hide the seriousness of allegations being proffered against former government officials. And so Guyanese can see through the smoke screens and should not be diverted by these shenanigans and these sideshows being organized by the opposition.
The Director of Public Prosecution, Shalimar Ali Haq, discontinued the charges against Ministers Valda Lawrence and Dr. George Norton and is expected to do the same for the other charges filed by PPP Member of Parliament Anil Nandalal. Prime Minister Nagamutu concluded by noting that the DPP acted in accordance with the Constitution to discontinue the charges. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
In tonight's oil and gas news, report that Guyana's Civil Defense Commission has sought international expertise in drafting a contingency plan in the unlikely event of an oil spill. Details from Natisha Isaacs.
Director Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig responded to reports in the Kaiser News, which suggested that the CDC did not seek the expertise of international specialists when it drafted its response protocols. Craig was speaking on Monday at the opening session of a 3-day Incident Command Systems and Oil Spill Response training at the CDC headquarters in Thomas Lands.
At this juncture, it's important to note that Guyana's National Oil Spill Contingency Plan has been developed in draft locally, drawing on material available regionally and internationally, and in keeping with the International Maritime Organization guidelines.
According to the CDC head, Guyana's local capacity in no way prevents the involvement of international experts.
The first draft of the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan benefited from expert support and guidance through the United States Department of State-led Energy Governance and Capacity Initiative and the United States Coast Guard. It was also reviewed by the International Maritime Organization.
Craig said a second review is currently ongoing and public consultations will soon commence, after which the plan can be further amended. The proposal will then be reviewed, tested, and adjusted before it is presented to Cabinet for final approval and adoption. For InfoHub, Natisha Isaacs.
Stacey joins us again to report that all government agencies now have access to the recently acquired government cloud. This will ensure they have the required computing and storage resources necessary for the fulfillment of the government's information and communication technology and e-governance mandate.
The G-Cloud, chairman of the National Data Management Authority, Floyd Levi, said is a relatively new technology to Guyana and possibly the first cloud of its size installed locally. Given the large volume of ICT services being rolled out by the government, the requisite infrastructure must be in place to assist in the delivery.
Actually allows us to give on demand to government agencies servers and storage locations as they need it. So rather than an agency having to go to one of the vendors in Guyana to buy a server, they can actually contact the NDMA, and within a matter of an hour or two, they get the server from within our local cloud that they would have had to spend about 4, 5, maybe even 6 months going through a procurement process to acquire.
The cloud, Levi explained, is a collection of virtual servers with high capabilities from which the NDMA is able to create more servers. The G-Cloud is stored at a data center at the NDMA.
Using our fiber optic connection, which is very high-speed connection between the ministries and our data center, for all intents and purposes, it will appear as though that server is within their own network.
This is part of the coalition government's plan of making available all government services, such as passport and birth certificate applications, accessible online. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
A $360 million drainage pump station has been constructed at Lusignan, and east coast of Demerara residents will experience faster relief after intermittent flooding caused by heavy rainfall. Here is Tiffany again.
The Lusignan pump station can discharge over 100 gallons of water per minute. It is part of the government's continued efforts to mitigate the effects of heavy rainfall on communities along the low-lying coast of Guyana. It is one of 3 located on the east coast of Demerara. The other 2 are at Buxton and on the border of Hope and Enmore. Rajni Baldio is optimistic that the new pump will bring relief to herself and her neighbors.
So that is the main drain there. So I'm living right behind it. So as soon as rain fall, we get flood. But now with the new pump, now we wouldn't be experiencing those flooding anymore. I hope so.
A resident of the neighbouring community of Good Hope and a councillor for the Neighbourhood Democratic Council, Clayton Belgrave, described the development as excellent.
Basically for Good Hope, so all of this is part of the community development. So I'm also a councillor for Lusignan NDC. So having this event, this opening of this pump station is a really good thing for us, meaning that in terms of drainage, it's really excellent. For the fact that we had the flood and the drainage was not all of that good, this is going to be a stepping stone for us in our community.
Director of the Agriculture Sector Development Unit, George Jarvis, said the project represents a new approach to dealing with flood risk in the communities, one aimed at empowering residents and farmers rather than making them dependent on government's handouts in times of heavy rainfall. The project was financed through the World Bank's International Development Agency, and construction was done by General Engineering Services and Supplies. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
The much-anticipated Kitty Roundabout is on the home stretch. It is about a month away from completion. Renetta Lafleur, who tracks infrastructure development, brings us the details.
Very soon, the flow of traffic at this intersection of Lusignan Road and Carafesta Avenue will significantly improve, enabling motorists to reach their destinations a bit faster, as work on Guyana's first major roundabout is almost completed. Senior engineer at the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Sherrod Parkinson, said the work is approximately 85% completed.
We're presently in the phase where we're closing off certain sections. For instance, they're now working at the curb to prepare for paving the section leading from Kitty Public Road to the Lusignan Road. They're also at the same time working on creating this island that will separate the traffic flowing west to the seawall against the traffic flowing east on the seawall into the roundabout.
Parkinson added that light poles are currently being installed, after which the minor works will be done to complete the roundabout.
After that, it's just a matter of deciding what will be done with the center of the roundabout, the road marking, signs and so on, before which we'll do the public awareness, which will start sometime by the end of this week, to sensitize the public on how to use it, and we're close to completion.
Earlier this year, a $78 million contract was awarded to S. Jagmohan Construction Services for works to complete what will be Guyana's first major roundabout. From Kitty Roundabout, Renetta Lafleur reporting for InfoHub.
East Coast Demerara commuters are now benefiting from a brand new bridge at Good Hope. Renetta Lafleur was at the opening on Saturday and has the details.
In just 14 days, the Good Hope Bridge on the east coast of Demerara was transformed from an acro panel structure to a concrete one. BK International project engineer Richard Hardick explained that much of the time was spent tediously dismantling the old structure.
This consists of 7 beams, 2 side walls, and a walkway for pedestrian, which the other bridge didn't have. So it's a wider bridge as well, and more structurally safe for everybody. So in all, it's been a task, but we made the point. We made the point, and it can be done. So bridges can be built in a very quick time if people put their mind together and work as a team.
A $23.5 million repair contract was awarded to BK International. Ministry of Public Infrastructure Senior Engineer Sherrod Parkinson commended the contractor for the timely completion, despite the repairs starting a little later than expected.
The contractor worked as much as possible around the clock to get it ready to open it, and it was completed, I think, last Friday into Saturday or Saturday into Sunday. But as we speak, it's completed.
The newly constructed bridge has a 50-year lifespan. From the Good Hope Bridge on east coast of Demerara, Renetta Lafleur reporting for InfoHub.
Check our website or Facebook page for more details as we bring you updates on developments across Guyana and further afield. Thanks for watching, and remember to connect with us 24/7 on our website and social media. Goodbye.
The taxes we pay provide revenue for the government to use to develop and improve our country's infrastructure and the life of all Guyanese.
If we pay our taxes, the government will be able to build more roads, schools, hospitals, bridges, and other government facilities.
The government will also be able to use those funds to pay better wages and salaries to public servants and to improve government services.
This will help to attract more investors to our country, create jobs, and reduce poverty.
Let's invest in our country. Pay your taxes.
A message from the Ministry of Finance and the Guyana Revenue Authority.